The hallway echoed with cruel laughter as the black girl's wheelchair slammed against the lockers. 3 bullies surrounded her, pushing, spinning, mocking. She tried to stay calm, gripping her wheels tightly. One bully sneered, "What's wrong? Can't fight back?" They didn't notice the tall man silently walking up behind them. His eyes locked on his daughter, trembling, frightened, hurting. The bullies turned and froze. They had no idea who they had just touched. Before we begin, subscribe to our channel and comment where you are watching from so we can bring more stories like these. The morning sun stretched across the small apartment like gentle fingers, warming every corner it touched. For most 13-year-olds, mornings meant groaning, hiding under blankets, begging for 5 more minutes. But Ava Carter wasn't most kids. She was up early, always early, sitting at her small desk with her tablet propped up, glasses slipping down her nose, pencil in hand, even though her assignments were digital. She liked the feel of writing. It made things real. Her wheelchair hummed softly as she adjusted her position, shifting her weight to ease the pressure on her legs. She was used to the routine. Checking her lap belt, making sure her joystick was tight, repositioning the cushion under her hips. Her movements had a quiet grace to them, gentle, precise, just like Ava herself. "Yeah," he said softly. "New school, new start, right?" Marcus knelt beside her wheelchair, eye level, something he always did so she wouldn't have to look up to talk to him. "You don't have to force excitement, kiddo," he murmured. "It's okay to be nervous." "I know," she whispered. I want this one to be different." Her voice cracked just a little, not enough for most people to hear. But Marcus Carter was not most people. Retired Navy SEALs didn't miss small cracks. He placed a steady hand on her knee. "It will be, and I'll make sure of it." Ava nodded, comforted by his certainty. She always was. Her father didn't say things he couldn't keep. He wasn't built that way. 3 months earlier, Marcus had retired from the SEALs, forced by the ache in his bones and the quiet crack in his spirit that came from years of danger and discipline. He wanted peace. He wanted softer mornings. He wanted to be there for Ava in a way he hadn't always been able to. He found a town with good schools, quiet streets, and sidewalks wide enough for a wheelchair. He found a job at a veterans training center. He found a small, affordable apartment. What he wanted most? A place where Ava could start fresh, where kids didn't stare too long, where whispers didn't follow her down hallways, where her wheelchair wasn't the first thing people noticed. A place where she could be Ava, not the girl who can't walk. He prayed this was that place. Ava wore her favorite lavender sweater, a soft one her father bought after 3 months of saving extra money from overtime shifts. She paired it with jeans embroidered with little flowers, her own handiwork from weekend crafting projects. She looked beautiful, not in the flashy way, but in the serene way, in the Ava way. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and practiced her introduction under her breath. "Hi, I'm Ava. Yes, this is my wheelchair. No, I don't mind questions." But even rehearsed confidence trembles. Her father noticed. "You're stronger than you think," he said. She smiled shyly. "I learned from you." He kissed the top of her head, something he rarely did because she was too grown. But today wasn't a day for boundaries. Today was a day for love. The drive was quiet, not awkward quiet, safe quiet. The kind shared by people who didn't need words every second. Ava watched houses go by, little kids running with backpacks bouncing. For a moment, she wished she could run too. Not because she hated her chair. She didn't. She'd made peace with her legs long ago. but sometimes she wondered what it felt like to sprint, to jump, to dance without wheels. Marcus glanced sideways at her. "You okay?" She smiled. "Just thinking. About what? Whether kids here will be nice?" Marcus gripped the steering wheel a little too hard. "They better be," he muttered. Ava giggled. "Dad, you can't punch middle schoolers." "I didn't say punch," he said defensively. "I said be nice." She laughed again, a soft, musical sound that melted his stress instantly. The school building stood tall and new, with glass doors reflecting the morning sun. Students swarmed the sidewalk, some talking loudly, some walking with friends, some scrolling on their phones, and some staring. A few looked at Ava's chair. A few looked at her legs. A few looked way too long. She lowered her gaze. Marcus's jaw flexed. The car pulled into a drop-off zone. He got out, walked around, and lifted her backpack from the trunk. Then he opened her door and helped her down the ramp with practiced ease. When her wheels touched the pavement, Ava took a deep breath. Here we go. A group of girls paused mid-conversation to stare. Two boys nudged each other and whispered something. Someone giggled. Ava felt her stomach tighten. Marcus saw everything. But he held himself steady. For her. "You want me to walk you in?" he asked gently. Ava shook her head. "No, I can do it." He nodded, respecting her choice, even though every muscle in him wanted to pick her up and shield her from the world. "Have a good day, baby girl," he said softly. "I'll try," she whispered. He tapped her wheelchair armrest lightly. "And remember," he said, leaning closer, "there's not a single kid in that building stronger than you." Her heart lifted a little. She smiled. Then she rolled forward, weaving into a sea of students who didn't yet know her story, or that the man who just dropped her off was one of the most decorated SEALs in the region. But all Ava wanted was for them to see her, not her chair, not her limitations, not her differences, just her, a sweet, intelligent girl who wanted friends, laughter, and normal days. But normal was not what waited for her. Not today, not tomorrow. Because the quiet whispers she tried to ignore, they were about to grow louder, sharper, crueler, and it would take everything Ava had in her gentle heart, and everything Marcus had learned in his hardest years, to face what came next. Ava rolled through the front doors of Ridgeview Middle School with a hopeful smile painted carefully onto her face. She'd practiced that smile in the mirror this morning. Not too big, not too awkward, just enough to say, "Hi, I belong here. Please let me belong here." But belonging wasn't something kids handed out freely, especially not to someone who moved differently, especially not to someone who already stood out before saying her first word. The halls were noisy, slamming lockers, laughter that bounced off the walls, sneakers squeaking on polished floors. Ava maneuvered through slowly, careful not to bump anyone's backpacks swinging wildly behind them. She passed a group of boys clustered near a locker. One of them nudged his friend when he saw her, jerking his chin toward her wheelchair. "Bro, check out the wheels," he whispered loudly enough for her to hear. Another smirked. "Bet she goes like 2 miles an hour." A girl near them giggled, hand covering her mouth. Ava felt her cheeks heat, but she didn't say anything. She adjusted her posture, pressed her lips together, and kept rolling. She had learned years ago that responding only made things worse. In English class, she tried raising her hand to answer a question about the assigned reading. She knew the answer. She always did. Ava loved books. Books didn't stare. Books didn't judge. But the teacher didn't see her hand. Or maybe she saw it and chose not to. Instead, she called on a boy who was doodling in his notebook, not even pretending to pay attention. when he stumbled through a wrong answer? The class laughed. The teacher smiled indulgently. Ava lowered her hand. Invisible again. During group work, 2 girls chose each other and 1 boy before Ava could even open her mouth. She rolled toward another pair, hopeful, but they shook their heads. Sorry, we're full. Even though they clearly weren't. Ava nodded, pretending it didn't sting. At lunch, she dropped her pencil while transferring from her chair to a table seat. It rolled across the floor, stopping near a group of 8th graders. A boy with shaggy blonde hair picked it up, glanced at it, and smirked. He held it out of her reach, just a few inches too high. What's the magic word? He teased. Ava forced a polite smile. Please. He chuckled. Too slow, he said, dropping it on the ground again. His friends laughed. A girl recording on her phone whispered, maybe she can run and get it. Oh, wait. Ava pressed her palms to her thighs, steadying herself. It's fine, she murmured, backing her chair up. She found another pencil later. Not the point, but also, painfully, the point. At the end of the day, as students rushed for the doors, Ava slowly wheeled toward the exit. Her shoulders sagged slightly, not defeated, but tired in a way that carried more than a day's weight. That's when Miss Jenna Flores, the school counselor, a woman with warm brown eyes and an even warmer smile, stepped into her path. Hey, sweetheart, she said softly. How was your first day? Ava straightened immediately, masking the sadness. It was okay, she replied brightly. Too brightly. Miss Flores wasn't fooled. Okay? She asked gently, crouching down so their eyes met. Or just okay, because you don't want to worry anyone. Ava's smile flickered. I don't want to be a problem, she whispered. You are not a problem, Miss Flores said firmly. Ava looked down at her hands, gripping her armrests. I just don't want my dad worried. He already carries so much. Everything here is new for him, too. And what about you? The counselor asked softly. Ava didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat tightened. Miss Flores placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Come talk to me any time, Ava. You don't have to be strong every second of the day. Ava nodded automatically, but inside, she was thinking, yes, I do. I have to be strong. For Dad. Always. The next few days weren't terrible, but they weren't good either. People didn't shove her. People didn't scream at her. People didn't tell her to go away. It was worse. They chipped at her, quietly, repeatedly, relentlessly. Little cuts, every day. In the hallway, someone accidentally stepped in front of her chair, so she couldn't pass. Oh, sorry, they'd say with a smirk, moving an inch, still blocking her. It took a teacher yelling, "Move," to free her. One boy started mimicking the sound of her wheelchair motor. Rrrr, rrrr. His friends laughed loudly. Ava bit her lip, pretending she didn't care. Her wheelchair wasn't loud. People were. Then one afternoon, she heard giggling behind her as she left math class. A girl named Hannah stepped in front of her and said, "Smile for the camera." Before Ava could ask why, Hannah spun her phone around. A video of Ava rolling through the hallway was posted with text. Slow wheels coming through. Car. #MoveGirl. 3 girls laughed. Ava's stomach dropped. She turned away before they could see her eyes fill. That evening, Marcus cooked dinner. Something simple. Chicken and rice. He hummed softly while chopping vegetables, a habit he picked up in the Navy kitchens overseas. Ava rolled in slowly. "Hey, Munchkin," he greeted. "How was school?" Her smile was practiced. "Good." He paused mid-chop. He'd heard that tone before. when she got a painful spinal injection, when she didn't make a school team because of mobility concerns, when kids whispered behind her back at their old town, ... He dried his hands and knelt down. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she replied too quickly. He studied her face, the tight jaw, the forced calm, the slight redness in her eyes. He didn't push. He just placed a hand on her cheek. "You know I'm here, right? For everything." Her voice trembled just a little. "I know, Dad." But she didn't tell him, because she knew what he was capable of, what he had done in the SEALs, what he'd risk again if he thought she was in danger. She didn't want that. She didn't want him hurt. So she held it in, quietly, until the pressure made her chest tight. By the end of the first week, the bullying was no longer subtle. Snickers followed her. Videos circulated. Kids avoided sitting with her. She felt small, smaller than her wheelchair, smaller than the quiet voice she used to love. Every night, she cried softly into her pillow, soundless, careful tears she didn't want her father to hear. But Marcus Carter wasn't Blee. He saw her slumped shoulders. He saw her fake smiles. He saw the sadness behind her eyes. And each day, the worry inside him grew heavier. He didn't know what was happening, not yet, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Someone was hurting his little girl. Someone was about to find out how dangerous it was to mistake kindness for weakness, especially when kindness belonged to the daughter of a Navy SEAL. And the breaking point was coming faster than anyone expected. Fridays were supposed to feel lighter. At Ridgeview Middle, kids buzzed with weekend energy, talking about sleepovers, games, and movies, arguing about who was better at basketball or who was totally failing math but didn't even care. For most kids, Friday meant freedom. For Ava, it just meant one more day to survive. She'd made it through the week with 1,000 tiny wounds, none of them visible, all of them real. Just one more day, she told herself that morning. Then I can rest. She could handle the whispers. She could handle the snickers. She could handle the snide looks and badly disguised videos. Or so she thought. Sixth period ended with the shrill ring of the bell. Kids poured out of classrooms and into hallways like a released dam. Ava rolled out a bit slower than the rest, as always. Her science teacher smiled at her. "Have a good weekend, Ava," he said. "You too," she replied, voice soft but warm. She checked her schedule. Locker. Then the side exit to where her dad usually parked. She liked taking the hallway near the art room. It was quieter, less crowded, easier to move through without Knuckles accidentally ramming into her wheels. Today, though, the hallway felt too empty. Her wheels hummed against the floor as she moved along. No chatter, no footsteps, just the distant sounds of lockers slamming somewhere else. Her chest tightened. Something about the silence felt wrong. Halfway down the hall, she saw them. 3 kids, standing right in the middle of the corridor, waiting. She knew them by now. Logan Reed, tall, always wearing a hoodie, smirk permanently glued to his face like he'd practiced it in the mirror. Mason Price, shorter, stockier, the type who laughed louder than everyone else, but never seemed to be the leader. Hannah Brooks, the girl who had filmed and posted the Slow Wheels video. Ponytail, glossy lips, cruel smile. They leaned against the lockers like they owned the hallway. Ava's fingers tightened on her joystick. Just roll past them, she told herself. Just keep going. She swallowed, raised her chin just a little, and kept moving forward. When she got close, Logan stepped directly in front of her. She stopped inches before bumping his shoes. "Oops," he said lazily. "Hallway's closed." Mason chuckled. Wheelchair toll, he added. Can't pass unless you pay. Ava's voice came out small but steady. Please move, she said. I need to get to my ride. Hannah tilted H. Wow, she even sounds polite while begging, she murmured. Logan tapped the side of her wheelchair with his shoe. This thing got a reverse? He asked. Or do you just wait for someone strong to push you? Ava gripped the armrests tighter. Please, she repeated. I just want to go home. He laughed. You hear that, guys? She just wants to go home. Mason pushed off the lockers and walked behind her chair. Before she could react, he grabbed the handles. Let's go for a ride, he said. He yanked the chair backwards. Ava gasped as the wheels rolled over the floor faster than she could control. Mason, stop, she cried. He didn't. He spun her, one hard twist to the left. The world turned into a blur of walls and lockers and light. Her stomach lurched. Her hands flew to the sides of her chair as it whirled. Logan laughed. Look at her go, he hooted. Zoom, zoom. Mason spun her again, harder. The hallway tilted. Her vision blurred. Her heart hammered. Stop, she yelled, voice breaking. Please stop. Hannah lifted her phone, recording. This is gold, she said. Do it again. Mason pushed her forward, this time too fast. Her front casters slammed into a locker with a metallic clang. Pain shot up her hands where they jammed against the armrests. Logan cackled. Oops, he smirked. Guess the brakes don't work. Ava's eyes stung. You're hurting me, she whispered. Hannah rolled her eyes. Oh, relax, she said. We're just playing. She stepped closer, pointing her camera right in Ava's face. Come on, say hi to your fans, Slow Wheels. A tear slid down Ava's cheek. Stop filming me, she choked. Hannah zoomed closer. Aw, is the baby gonna cry? She mocked. Logan leaned in, smirking. You know what would be funny? He said. If she just, got up and walked away. Plot twist. Mason snorted. Yeah, he said. Stand up and fight us. Logan grinned. Oh, wait. They all laughed. Loudly, cruelly. Ava's chest heaved. Humiliation burned through her. Her wheelchair wasn't just a chair now. It was a cage, and they held the keys. Mason gripped the back handles again. Let's see how tough this thing is, he said. Before she could scream, he jerked the handles down and lifted the front of the chair. The sudden tilt sent her weight backwards. The front wheels rose off the ground. Her body pitched. Her head snapped back. Her heart stopped. Stop, she screamed. Mason laughed nervously. Chill, I got you, he said, but he didn't lower her right away. Her chair seesawed on its back wheels. Her stomach dropped. Her mind flashed to every doctor's warning. Avoid sudden impact. Avoid tipping. Avoid pressure on the spine. It all crashed together in a wave of terror. Tears streamed down her face. Put me down, she sobbed. Please, please. Her voice echoed down the hallway. Hannah's camera shook a little. This is crazy, she said between laughs. Do it. Mason leaned further back. For a split second, too fast for thought, too slow for mercy, Ava felt the point of no return. Her center of gravity tipped. Her wheels slipped. Her chair began to fall. She screamed, a raw, terrified sound that ripped through the empty hallway. And then, bootsteps, heavy, sharp, slapping the floor in a rhythm that did not belong in a middle school. And a voice, low, controlled, deadly calm. Enough. Mason froze. He dropped it too fast in panic. The wheels slammed back down, jarring Ava's spine. She cried out, pain shooting through her back like electricity. Logan turned first. His smirk died instantly. Because standing at the end of the hallway, broad shoulders, dark eyes, jaw clenched, muscles coiled under a plain t-shirt and faded jeans, was Marcus Carter. He didn't look like a regular dad picking up his kid. He looked like a storm in human form, a wall that had learned how to move. And right now, that wall was moving toward them. Slow, deliberate, dangerous. Logan swallowed. We were just... Marcus didn't even look at him. His eyes were on Ava. Only Ava. He covered the distance to her chair in seconds, his boots hitting the floor with a steady, terrifying rhythm. When he reached her, he dropped to his knees, hands already scanning, gently but urgently, over her arms, shoulders, sides. "Ava," he murmured, voice low and shaking with contained rage. "You hurt. Where does it hurt?" Her hands trembled as she grabbed his forearm like it was the only solid thing in the world. "My back," she whispered, and my hands. "I'm okay, He looked at her more closely. Then he saw it, the tear tracks on her face, the redness around her eyes, the way her chest shuddered with aftershocks of panic. He took a breath, the kind of breath people take before doing something irreversible. He stood up slowly, turned, and finally looked at the three kids who had just treated his daughter like a prop in a joke. The air changed. Logan's bravado melted. Mason stepped back. Hannah lowered her phone. Nobody made a sound. Marcus's voice was calm. Too calm. "You put your hands on my daughter," he said, each word sharp as glass. "You shoved her. You spun her. You almost flipped her." Mason attempted a shaky laugh. "We were just playing," he said. She's fine." Marcus took one step closer. "Mason, shut up. You think this is a game?" Marcus asked quietly. "You think her body is something you get to test gravity with?" Logan swallowed again. It was a joke," he muttered. "We didn't mean..." "You didn't mean what?" Marcus interrupted. "You didn't mean to hurt her? What about humiliate her? Terrify her? You meant that, didn't you?" He didn't yell. That somehow made it worse. Hannah crossed her arms defensively. "She could have told us to stop," she said weakly. Marcus's eyes flashed. "Oh, she did," he said. "I heard her. Stop. Please. You're hurting me. You ignored all of it." The hallway stayed silent. Somewhere down the corridor, a classroom door creaked open. A janitor, Mr. Daniel Pierce, stood there, eyes wide. He recognized Marcus instantly. His breath caught. He whispered to himself, "Oh man, that's Carter. Chief Carter, Navy SEAL." He stepped further into the hall. This wasn't just some angry dad yelling at kids. This was a man trained to remain calm when bullets flew. And right now, that man looked like he was using every ounce of discipline he had left not to explode. Marcus leaned down toward their eye level. Not too close, but close enough to make it clear he was not playing. "I don't care who you are," he said quietly. "I don't care who your parents are. You don't lay a finger on my daughter again. You don't touch her chair. You don't block her path. You don't talk about her like she's less than you." He paused, eyes hard as steel. "You are cowards, picking on someone kinder and gentler than you will ever be. That ends now." Logan's voice shook. "We didn't know she was..." "What?" Marcus cut him off. "Fragile? Helpless? Broken?" His jaw tightened. "You don't know my daughter at all. You see a wheelchair and think weak. I see Ava and think stronger than anyone I served with." They stared, stunned. He straightened slowly. "Now," he said, voice icy, "you're going to stand there. You're not going to move. And you're going to wait until this school staff sees exactly what you did." Mason sputtered. You can't tell us what to do. You're just..." Marcus took one step toward him. Mason shut up immediately. Mr. Pierce, the janitor, moved swiftly now, heading for the main office. His heart pounded. He knew what would happen next. Because when someone like Marcus Carter decided a line had been crossed, there was no going back. The quiet, ignored bullying, over. The days of Ava suffering in silence, done. The school had just stepped into a confrontation it wasn't remotely prepared for. The scream that echoed down the hall had brought a Navy SEAL to his daughter's side, and the storm he was about to unleash was far from over. The hallway was frozen in silence. The bullies didn't dare move. Ava clutched her father's sleeve, still shaking from the near fall. Marcus stood quietly beside her, too quietly. His calm was the kind that made the air feel dangerous. Teachers rushed in from both ends of the hallway, alerted by the commotion. "What's going on here?" one demanded. Before the bullies could lie, Mr. Daniel Pierce, the janitor who had seen everything, stepped forward quickly. "Don't let them talk first," he warned the teachers. "You need to hear the truth." The teachers blinked, confused at his urgency. Mr. Pierce pointed at the kids. These three were spinning her, shoving her chair, almost flipped her. The teachers gasped, but then Mr. Pierce's voice lowered. "And you all need to understand something else." He gestured toward Marcus. "That man right there, that's Chief Marcus Carter." The name hit the teachers like a thunderclap. A student peeking from around a corner whispered, "Carter? The Carter?" Another teacher whispered back, "Navy SEAL Carter. He's in the articles. He saved a whole team overseas." Logan, Mason, and Hannah went pale. They hadn't just messed with a girl in a wheelchair. They messed with the daughter of a special operations legend. The teacher's approach changed instantly. No more annoyance, no more brushing it off. Now they stood straighter, more alert, more afraid of what had nearly happened. A science teacher knelt next to Ava. "Ava, sweetheart, are you hurt?" Marcus answered before Ava could. "She was nearly flipped backward in a locked wheelchair," he said with deadly calm. "Her spine could have snapped, and no adult was here to stop it." The teachers flinched. One teacher started to speak. I'm sure they didn't mean..." Marcus's eyes cut to her sharply. "Don't finish that sentence." Silence. Absolute silence. Mr. Pierce cleared his throat, addressing the teachers. "You need to call the principal, now, and get security footage before anyone tries to lose it." The bully shrank back. Hannah hid her phone behind her, but Mr. Pierce grabbed it gently. "Confiscated," he said. "This is evidence." Marcus placed a gentle hand on Ava's shoulder. "Look at me, sweetheart," he murmured. Ava looked up, still crying softly. "You're safe now," he said. "I'm here." And she believed him. For the first time in days, she believed she was safe. The teachers turned to Marcus, finally understanding the seriousness of the moment. "Mr. Carter," one said quietly, "we are so sorry. We'll handle this immediately." Marcus nodded once, but his words chilled the hallway. "No," he said. "We will handle this. Together. Because. Together." Not even close. The school's front office exploded into chaos within minutes. Administrators rushed toward the hallway, where Marcus stood guard beside Ava, his presence towering, protective, unshakable. Word had already traveled through the building. A student in a wheelchair was attacked. Her dad is a Navy SEAL. The bullies are in huge trouble. Phones were buzzing. Teachers whispered urgently. Students peeked from classrooms, wide-eyed. But Marcus didn't care about the noise. He cared about one thing: Ava. The principal tries damage control. Principal Avery arrived breathless. "Mr. Carter, sir, I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding. Kids can be impulsive." Marcus turned his head slowly. The principal stopped talking immediately. Misunderstanding? He repeated quietly. You think nearly flipping a wheelchair is a misunderstanding? Avery swallowed. Well, children sometimes. Marcus stepped closer. Say kids will be kids, he warned softly, and this conversation ends right now. The principal's face drained of color. Behind them, the bullies stood rigid, faces pale as chalk. Here's what I want, Marcus said, voice calm but razor sharp. Security footage, now. The principal hesitated. Mr. Pierce stepped forward. I'll take him, he said. Marcus nodded gratefully. They moved toward the security office with a speed that made the bullies tremble. The moment the cameras were accessed, the footage played. Ava being blocked, Ava being spun, Ava slamming into the locker, Ava nearly flipping, Ava screaming. The room went silent. Even the principal's jaw dropped. Oh my God, he whispered. This is serious. Marcus's voice was ice. It always was. Within half an hour, the bullies' parents were summoned. Hannah's mother arrived first. My daughter would never. Marcus pressed a button. The footage played again. Her words died instantly. Logan's father tried next. She probably provoked them. Mr. Pierce spoke flatly. Sir, she can't even stand up. Silence. Then Mason's mom whispered, I didn't know he was capable of this. Marcus turned to face all of them. My daughter lives with chronic pain, he said. She has a spinal condition. She cannot be jolted, shoved, or tipped. He held their eyes one by one. Your children could have paralyzed her, or worse. The room felt ice cold. Teachers who once dismissed Ava now spoke up. I noticed them teasing her. I saw them block her chair last week. She's been crying in class. Each confession hit the parents like a blow. Then Miss Flores stepped forward, voice gentle but firm. Ava tried to hide it, she said, because she didn't want to worry her father. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, pained. Ava had been protecting him while he'd been unaware of her suffering. His heart twisted. I should have known, he murmured to himself. I should have seen it. Miss Flores touched his arm. You're here now, she said softly, and she's safe. Marcus turned back to the administrators. I want an emergency disciplinary meeting, he said. Today. Yes, of course. The principal agreed quickly. This cannot go unresolved. Whispers spread through the gathering crowd of staff and a few parents who'd arrived to pick up their kids. That's the seal from the newspaper. He took down an entire hostage cell overseas, and those kids laid hands on his daughter? They're lucky he's calm. Lucky was an understatement. Marcus was using every ounce of military discipline not to shake. Not with fear, with controlled fury. From her chair, Ava watched all of it. Watched her father defend her, fight for her, shield her. His voice was steady. His stance was unmovable. His love was unmistakable. Her hands trembled, not from fear this time, but from relief. She wasn't alone anymore. Her father wasn't confused or in the dark. He knew. Finally, he knew. And he wasn't letting this go. Not today. Not ever. Because this storm, this righteous, disciplined, unstoppable force, it had only one mission: protect Ava. And now everyone in that school understood the truth. They hadn't just bullied a girl in a wheelchair. They had awakened her father, a Navy SEAL, a protector, a man who never lost a battle. The emergency school board meeting didn't feel like a meeting at all. It felt like a courtroom. Ava sat beside her father at the long wooden table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her wheelchair was parked close to him, like she was anchoring herself with his presence. On the opposite side sat Logan, Mason and Hannah with their parents, faces tense, ashamed, or still in denial. Board members shuffled papers nervously. Administrators avoided eye contact. The air felt heavy. Charged, but Marcus? Marcus was calm. That was the part that scared everyone the most. The meeting began with the principal clearing his throat. We are here to address a serious incident involving student safety. He clicked a remote. The footage appeared on the monitor. Ava being spun, her wheels leaving the ground, her scream echoing, the near flip that could have changed her life forever. Parents gasped. A teacher covered her mouth. One board member whispered, "My God." Ava looked down, unable to watch. Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to see it again," he murmured. She nodded softly. The board president cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter, you may speak." Marcus stood slowly. Not aggressively, not theatrically, just firmly. "When I served in the SEALs," he began, "I was trained to stay calm under pressure, to make decisions that kept my team alive, to protect those who couldn't protect themselves." He turned toward the bullies. "And today, 3 middle schoolers decided it was entertaining to treat my daughter's wheelchair like a carnival ride." He looked back at the board. "My daughter cannot walk. She cannot stabilize herself if her chair tips. A fall like the one in that video could have shattered her spine." A few board members flinched visibly. He continued, voice steady. "Ava is gentle. She is kind. She does not fight because she believes in peace. But make no mistake, she is stronger than every bully who touched her." Ava's eyes filled. Her dad never spoke like this in public. Not about her, not about her strength. He went on, "I'm not here because of one bad moment. I'm here because this school ignored the signs, the mocking, the blocking, the cruel videos, all of it." Teachers stared at the table, ashamed. "Kids will be kids" is not an excuse. Marcus said, "It's a failure." Silence. Absolute silence. Then he finished, "My daughter deserves to feel safe. I will not allow this culture of bullying toward her or any child to continue." He sat, and the room erupted in murmurs. Hannah's mother tried to speak first. "My daughter made a mistake, but—" Marcus lifted one eyebrow. Just one. She swallowed her words. Logan's father stammered, She looked fine." Marcus responded coldly. "She screamed." Mason's mother began crying softly. "I didn't raise him to be like this," she whispered to Marcus. "I'm so sorry. I truly am." For the first time, Marcus's expression softened. "I believe you," he said quietly. "Now teach him better than this." A board member asked gently, "Ava, do you want to say anything?" Ava's breath caught. Her father squeezed her shoulder encouragingly. Ava looked up, her voice trembling but clear. "I didn't tell my dad because I didn't want him to worry," she whispered. "I thought if I ignored it, it would stop." Tears streamed down her cheeks, but it didn't stop. It got worse. She wiped her face. "I'm not weak. I just didn't want to be a burden." Marcus's heart cracked open. He whispered, "You are never a burden." Ava continued, voice shaking, "I just want to come to school. I just want to be treated like everyone else. I don't want to be scared anymore." The room fell still. Even the bullies lowered their heads. Her words carried more power than any anger could. The board president cleared his throat, voice somber. "Effective immediately. These 3 students are suspended for their actions. Further disciplinary review will determine if additional consequences, including possible expulsion, are necessary." Relief washed over Ava's face. Marcus exhaled slowly. tension finally easing from his shoulders. Justice. Real, decisive justice. The bullies were let out, their parents silent. And for the first time in a long time, Ava felt seen, heard, protected. Ava woke up the next morning feeling different. Not healed, not perfect, but lighter. The fear that had curled inside her chest all week had finally loosened. She no longer had to pretend. She no longer had to hide her pain behind polite smiles. Her dad knew. The school knew. Everyone knew. And no one was ignoring her anymore. Marcus drove her to a special training center that morning. Not for punishment. Not for revenge. For empowerment. His friend, Sergeant Leon Briggs, a former SEAL who now taught adaptive self-defense, greeted Ava at the door with a warm grin and a prosthetic leg decorated with bright orange flames. "So," Leon said cheerfully, "you're the brave young lady Chief Carter keeps bragging about." Ava blushed. "Dad brags about me?" Marcus cleared his throat, pretending not to smile. "Only every time I see Leon," he admitted. Leon nodded. "He says you're the strongest kid he knows." Ava's chest tightened with emotion. For once, she believed Inside the training room, Leon showed Ava techniques designed specifically for wheelchair users. How to block grabs, how to push back safely, how to break free from someone trying to spin her chair, how to project confidence with posture and voice. "This isn't about fighting," Leon explained. "It's about owning your space." Ava nodded fiercely. For the first time, she felt control, not over others, but over herself. Her strength, her boundaries, her voice. Marcus watched proudly from the sidelines, eyes soft. She was blossoming right in front of him. When Ava returned to school on Monday, everything was different. Teachers greeted her warmly. Students who used to ignore her now moved aside respectfully. The school counselor, Miss Flores, made her a priority. The principal implemented new anti-bullying measures. Posters went up. Respect every student. Different doesn't mean less. Accessibility is dignity. An assembly was scheduled. Training for teachers was announced. A safe reporting system was created. Ava's courage didn't just change her life, it changed the entire school. 2 days later, during lunch, Ava heard footsteps behind her chair. She turned. It was Mason. No smirk, no swagger, just a scared kid holding his hat in his hands. He cleared his throat. "Ava, I'm sorry," he said quietly. I didn't realize how bad it was. I was being stupid." Ava studied him carefully. He looked genuinely ashamed. She nodded gently. "I forgive you," she said, "but don't do it again. To anyone." Mason nodded furiously. "Never," he promised. "Never again." He walked away quickly. Ava exhaled slowly. Forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was power. By the end of the month, Ava wasn't the girl people pitied, or whispered about, or recorded for laughs. She was the girl people admired, the girl who spoke up, the girl who smiled again, the girl who stood figuratively, with strength that had always been inside her. She rolled through the halls with her head lifted high, and the world stepped aside respectfully, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Ava Carter was no victim. She was a leader, and everyone could see it now. The sun was low in the sky, painting the world in warm shades of orange and gold. Ava and Marcus moved along the quiet neighborhood sidewalk, Ava in her wheelchair, her father walking beside her with hands in his pockets. For the first time in weeks, Ava wasn't thinking about hallways or whispers or cruel laughter. She was thinking about strength. Her strength. Marcus slowed his steps to match her pace, glancing down with a soft smile. "You're moving faster these days," he said gently. Ava laughed, a real laugh, not the quiet, polite one she used at school. "That's because I finally feel like me again," she admitted. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "You were always you, sweetheart. The world just needed to catch up." Ava looked at him, warmth filling her chest. "You see strength in me," she said quietly, "even when I don't." Marcus squeezed the handle of her chair lightly. "That's because it's always been there. You didn't learn it. You just remembered it." A breeze rustled the trees around them. Ava looked ahead at the golden sky and finally said the words she hadn't been able to say before. "I used to think being in a wheelchair made me weak." Her voice trembled, but she didn't look away. "I thought I had to be quiet. I thought I had to shrink. I thought I had to pretend nothing hurt." Marcus listened, really listened. "But now," Ava continued, lifting her chin, "I realize I'm stronger than I ever knew." Her father's eyes softened, pride shining in them. "You are," he said, "not because of what you can or can't do physically, but because you kept going, through fear, through pain, through cruelty." Ava blinked back tears. "That's what strength looks like, sweetheart," Marcus added. "Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's a quiet kid in a wheelchair, still showing up every day." They reached the top of a small hill overlooking the sunset. Ava whispered, "People saw my chair first, my weakness second. They never saw my heart." Marcus knelt beside her, meeting her eyes. "I always saw your heart first," he said. "Now you do too." She smiled, calm, confident, radiant. "People see limitations," she said softly. "My dad sees potential." She looked at her hands, steady now, not trembling. "And now, so do I." The sky glowed brighter, as if the world itself was applauding her growth. Ava Carter wasn't the girl who got pushed anymore. She was the girl who rose. Strong, kind, unbreakable. A warrior in her own way. A hero in her own story. And beside her stood her father. The man who reminded her that true power isn't physical. It's the courage to believe in yourself again.